Thank you so much for coming. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. My name is Rikki, and I lead the data office in Woven City. What I want to share with you today is something we've been building quietly, carefully, and with a great deal of intention. We call it the Woven City Data Fabric. By the end of this talk, I hope you'll understand more than just the architecture behind it. I want you to see why it matters for the residents who call this city home, for the inventors prototyping the future, and for every organization in this room that believes data and trust must coexist. We're going to move through 5 key areas today. First, the Woven City Data Fabric itself, what it is, and the why behind its creation. From there, we'll go deep into privacy-conscious architecture. This is the bedrock that everything else rests upon. Connected to that is data security and how we've built it into the very core of our systems. From there, I'll show you how the data mesh principles empower us to scale these systems globally. And finally, we'll close with a single thought I'd like you to carry with you as you leave today. Let's begin. Woven City is a human-centered living test course for mobility and a platform for accelerating innovation. Every system, every service, every interaction generates data. And the question we asked ourselves was, how do we make that data work for the people, not just for technology? The Woven City Data Fabric is our answer to that question. It weaves together data management, consent, and utilization into a single coherent system, one that fosters trust between weavers, the people who live here, and inventors, the teams who built here. And when that trust is real, something powerful happens. Co-creation accelerates, insights compound, the value of data multiplies. We call this KAKEZAN, the multiplication of value through connected intelligence. Woven City generates rich, multimodal data across every layer of daily life: mobility, energy, health, home, commerce. It's all here, and it's all interconnected. The challenge was never collecting that data. The challenge was making it available in a way that people could actually trust. The Woven City Data Fabric is the framework that makes that possible. It connects data management, consent, and utilization into one system so that weavers remain in control of their own data, and inventors can move with confidence of knowing that every data point they work with has been properly consented to. I'll also note, and this is something we're proud of, this framework was designed to be reusable. The consent mechanisms we've built here aren't exclusive to Woven City. They're built to be adopted. At its core, the Woven City Data Fabric is a data management framework that facilitates data utilization while respecting individual preferences and privacy. That language is deliberate. It is also the language our PR team uses when they describe this to the world. And I think it's exactly right. 2 design components make this possible. First, architecture that protects people by default. You don't have to opt out of privacy. You opt into sharing. Second, an approach to data stewardship that distributes control rather than centralizing it. No single team, no single system holds everything. I want to be clear about something. These are not constraints on innovation. They are what makes innovation trustworthy. And in a city where people actually live, that distinction is everything. Let's look at how philosophy becomes architecture. Every data product in Woven City is private by default. That's not a policy. It's a design principle baked into the infrastructure. Data stewards decide what is discoverable, and when access is granted, it is always temporary, always tied to a specific purpose, and always audited. The diagram on this slide shows the flow simply. Weavers generate data that sits behind a block, and access to it requires a declared purpose. Nothing leaks, nothing persists beyond its reason for existing. Safe data sharing doesn't happen by accident. It depends on 3 distinct roles, each with clear responsibilities and clear boundaries. Inventors define what data they need and why, receive only the consented data, and build with it responsibly. Weavers decide what they share, with whom, and for what purpose, and that decision is always theirs to make. And our specialist review teams sit across both, confirming that every data use in this city is secure, ethical, and lawful. These 3 roles aren't bureaucracy. They are the structure that makes trust possible at scale. This is where things get interesting. So co-creation happens when data from different domains, mobility, smart home, health, commerce, energy, is brought together with Weaver consent to surface insights that no single dataset could produce alone. The keyword is consent, and the key mechanism is purpose validation. Data does not flow freely. It flows through a filter, and what comes out at the other side, correlated insights across multiple domains, that is what we call KAKEZAN in practice. The diagram you see here is not a metaphor. It is the actual architecture. Let me walk you through the full process from start to finish. An inventor begins by defining exactly what data they need and obtaining approval from our specialist review teams. Then weavers are recruited to participate in a specific project. Data is collected during that participation, strictly in accordance with the purposes that were consented to, nothing more. Inventors then process that consented, filtered data and may combine it with other city data or outside data, again, only within the boundaries what weavers agreed to. And when that purpose is achieved, data sharing stops. Inventors deliver products and services that benefit weavers' daily lives. The loop closes cleanly. From the inventor's perspective, the process gives them something valuable: autonomy with guardrails. They define requirements and purpose, work with a specialist review team, recruit weavers, present privacy notices, and obtain consent, and then receive data that has already been consented and filtered through the data mesh. Every step is governed. Every data point is consented. Every access is purposeful. Inventors move with confidence precisely because the system has done the trust-building work for them. Now, from the weaver side, and this is the perspective I want to spend a moment on, because these are the residents of this city. A weaver receives an invitation to participate in a project. They review the project details and full privacy notice. What data will be collected, who will receive it, the purpose of disclosure, the purpose of use. Then they decide whether to consent. They participate, they use the product, and when the purpose is achieved, data sharing stops. Weavers are in control. Every single data sharing decision is theirs to make. That is not a marketing claim. That is a system guarantee. We just saw how the system works. Now let me show you what it actually produces. Look at what's happening here. External conditions, weather, energy cost, city services, bus schedules, payments, consumption data, derived behavioral patterns, and price sensitivity. 4 completely different data streams, each collected for its own purpose, each passing through the consent and purpose filter we've just described. And what emerges at the bottom is a personal energy savings recommendation, something genuinely useful to a resident's daily life that none of these 4 data sets could have produced alone. When data from across the city is semantically unified, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. That is KAKEZAN. A brief word on security. In Woven City, data is never pooled in one place. Each domain collects and manages data within its own area, ensuring appropriate security measures are in place. This means a security incident can never compromise everything at once. We call this the blast radius principle. If something goes wrong, the damage is contained by design. I want to mention that isolation is not a limitation. It is a security feature. Security itself is a shared responsibility across 3 layers. Infrastructure provides the secure platform, data teams manage their posture, and governance ensures best practices are followed consistently. The architecture is the defense. Now let me explain the architecture that makes all of this possible at scale. Woven City already has 70 data services across dozens of domains. Look at this diagram. Every oval you see is a team, a service, a domain with its own data. Centralized management of data at this scale does not just slow things down. It becomes the bottleneck that prevents innovation entirely. If we had built a traditional data lake, every new experiment would stall. You'd wait for a central team to move the data, you'd wait for them to catalog it, and you'd wait for them to serve it. At our scale, 70 services and growing, that's not a delay. That's a dead stop. Data mesh is our answer. The data mesh rests on 4 principles. Domain-oriented ownership. One team owns their data end-to-end, from the application to the analytics product. Data is a product. Data is well-defined, loosely coupled, and valuable in its own right. A self-serve data platform. Anyone can discover and use data autonomously without waiting for a central team. And federated computational governance. Support teams provide the tools that let data teams govern themselves and monitor exceptions. Distributing ownership to the teams closest to the data unlocks speed, accountability, and scale simultaneously. These 4 principles are not theoretical. We have 70+ services running on them right now. And here's what makes this powerful for everyone in this room. The data mesh architecture is modular by design. What we build in Woven City can be deployed as additional mesh instances across the Toyota Industrial Group, allied mobility partners, and beyond. No rebuilding from scratch. Every new deployment multiplies the value of what we already have. The diagram on the left represents exactly that. Woven City at the center, and the architecture radiating outwards through each layer of the Toyota ecosystem to the open market. One foundation, infinite reach. Let me close with one thought. Woven City is proof that there is no tension between innovation and privacy. When residents feel safe, when their data is treated as trust rather than a resource, and when inventors and weavers co-create on equal terms, something extraordinary happens. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. That is the city we are building. That is KAKEZAN. ありがとうございました。Thank you all very much. Thank you. Before you leave, everything I've shown you today is not a roadmap, it is live. Thank you so much. Enjoy your day. ありがとうございます。